Yeah! Quick tip 22. Welcome to the second quick tip from the new house. If you haven't heard, we finally moved into our brand new house here in Florida, and I'm ready to crank out the content back to the full time gig. So, second week, second tutorial. This one is another old one, as they all will be. These are from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, from my Patreon. Today's topic is scratches and rust. We're kind of compounding on last week's tutorial, which was chipping. You can check that video out. I think I'm going to put something up here. I don't know if I can do that yet here on YouTube, but I've seen other people point and then things pop up, so that's what I'm going to do. This one, again, like I said, it's compounding on the chipping, kind of a traditional weathering look, as opposed to using a ton of products. We're going to kind of build rust traditionally, for lack of better terms. But anyway, if you enjoy this content, you know what to do. Subscribe, like. I'm just going to point to different places, and hopefully I'll edit something in there. Yep. Anyhow, if you're interested in any more of these tutorials, feel free to check out my Patreon down below. This is my full-time gig. This is how I make my income, right? So if you're interested in that, check out my Patreon in the link down below. I also stream on Twitch during the daytime, Monday through Wednesday, and then I've been streaming at night lately on Thursdays, but we'll see if I keep doing that. Anyhow, I'll let you guys enjoy the tutorial. I'm gonna go. Alright guys, this one, full disclosure, is gonna be very raw, uncut. Audio might suck. In fact, I don't even know if the audio is gonna work, but it's basically because I'm not done loading all the programs I need to load onto the new PC, so I'm sorry, but I wanted to do a quick tip anyway. And first and foremost, wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating. I just hope that you all have a wonderful season, even if you're not celebrating. Whatever you're doing, I just want to express my sincere thanks for supporting me. I mean, it means the world to me. In a time where, honestly, when Corona started, I told my wife I was screwed. And you guys have kept us more than afloat. I've had a great year, thanks to all of you, despite all the loss we've had as far as not being able to teach at conventions and whatnot, and losing that part of my income. Your support means the world to me, and I can't thank you guys enough, so I really hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. This one is going to be about weathering, specifically vehicles, although these techniques can be used on units as well, by all means on terrain. But this was a suggestion from one of you patrons requested that I do this video. So, scratches are a big one, okay? There are two different types of scratches. There are subdermal and superficial. Sorry, I was having a brain fart. So, keep in mind this little gun drone, whatever this is, he's, scooting along doing his thing, right? Theoretically, if he's going through brush, or let's say orcs are shooting at him, whatever, it's all going to be directional, right? It's not necessarily going to be perfectly straight back, but they're going to, because he's domed, they're going to kind of ricochet and move, and if he's going through, like, think of brush, trees, whatever, and he's going through this, they're going to go and slide off the sides, right? So what you want to do is keep your scratches and nicks and stuff like that, keeping in mind not to keep them uniform, not to keep them symmetrical, but to keep them kind of in a pattern that makes sense for this vehicle's movement. So maybe I put a scratch there, and then I come over here and I put a small little little nick over here, right? Now they're very close in direction, so maybe I come over here and create a new one. And it kind of goes, it's still going in that direction, but it's very, and it continues down the side there, right? But it's very in line with the movement, right? Now you can have your what's the word I'm looking for? Random attacks, random markings, like, okay, cool, but maybe like a gene stealer top roped this and he was just like, oh yeah, here I am, right? So you create a little claw mark or something, right? You create a little bit of a bigger end at the terminus, like he jumped on and scraped down, right? Now, I always keep my highlight, like here's my base color, my highlight, right? So we can also do our superficials, which are essentially just surface scratches. They don't necessarily scratch through the paint, but they maybe go and scratch the clear coat or something. And these are so light that they don't go through the very top coat of the paint, if you will. So let's go give this one a big long one. Right? And you could barely see that unless it's in like specific lighting, right? That's a good superficial scratch because it gives the illusion that maybe something came along and just barely dinged this thing, just like ricochet, right? So you can do that pretty much anywhere you want on this model as long as it makes sense with the directional movement, right? So maybe there's another big one here and it started over here. It just kind of goes across that surface. Now if you find, like I am, that it is just a little too similar to your base layer, you can always add in just a little bit of, in my case I'm going to add just some ivory. This is bright ivory. I meant to grab ivory, but it doesn't matter. It's just going to be a very light mixture. But for the sake of showing up on video, I'm actually pretty happy with how that looks, but for the sake of the video, let's go ahead and add a little bit of ivory here, lighten things up. There we go. Make sure I got a good mix here. That's better. Okay. So let me show you, hopefully with something that'll show up a little better on camera. Now, the other thing is, I typically don't like to use brushes like this. The fact that it has a really long bristle length and sharp point is what I'm really looking for. But I really like the Monument Balm Wicks because they have that belly. Keeping back moisture in your brush is very important. I've got a little pool of Lamy and Medium here. What I do is I kind of soak it up in my brush and then I come up here and I rub most of it off. I mean, I don't dry it off on a paper towel, but I need that back moisture in this brush so that it'll go and soak up that paint and make it more fluid. It acts like a syringe, and that back moisture kind of pushes the paint off the tip of the brush so that you can do these more or less effortless paint strokes. Like, let's do one right here. Like that really light scratch, right? But take a look. They're damn near identical. I didn't mean to do that. It just happens. So you kind of need to get out of that framework in your brain, that kind of natural framework, if you will, that you're gonna sit here and do a symmetrical or horizontal or parallel even lines. Try not to keep them parallel. But then you also want to use this color to highlight your lines, and you can do that just by simply creating a little depth by going right next to your scratch here. Right? And poof, that scratch instantly has a little bit of depth to it. Same thing over here. I've got a couple of little things that I want to show you over here. This is a bit of a gouged paint look. And what I did was I grabbed some of that brown, that black brown if you will, and I created what in my narrative mind is telling me was a bullet shot that kind of hit the armor and ricocheted off. So I might fatten this out just a little bit and then come to a real sharp point. Right? So what happened here is the bullet did have enough of an angle to dig in, but it was kind of, you know, it dug in, but it still didn't have enough to really penetrate, so it bounced off. The armor was thick enough. So now you have to highlight that, and keeping with where you highlighted this one, you want to do the same over here. So you kind of follow that edge, right? But that's not all. There needs to be a little bit of depth to this, right? So that's where black is going to come in. We want to emulate that, hey, this did have enough kind of oomph to dig in, but it kind of trailed off, right? So I'll lay in some of that black, leaving that brown showing on this edge and all the way up that scratch. And it may be a little too, what's the word? I'm sorry, I'm a little fried today. It may be a little too microscopic for you to really appreciate the detail. I'll show you on the Rhino, but let me see if I can get this to focus. There we go. That black just kind of adds a little bit of depth to things, if you will. Okay, so here it is on the Rhino. You can kind of see it better on the Rhino if it'll focus. There it is, a little bit there and a little bit right there. Notice I'm next to that scratch too, or to this chipping. And then the other thing that you can do, simple kind of weathering, I'd show you an example. In fact, I prepped for one, but time is of the essence. I'm already over 20 minutes here. Is rusting. And all the rusting is, this panel here, or right here, is a product similar to typhus corrosion. G-Dub makes typhus corrosion. It's a good little product, but it's expensive, and everybody makes different, basically identical products to that. What I do is I put on 2 coats of the stuff, not 1, 2. That's where people make a big mistake. So I do my 2 coats of it, and then I wash it with a rust dry paint. Any type of rust dry paint will work. Big fan of the MIG dry brush paint. If it'll focus, come on. There we go. MIG's dry brush paint line is pretty damn good. Some of you who are in the Loot Crate tier, you should have gotten some MIG dry brush paint. But I'll do a really, really light dry brush with the orange. Then I'll wash over it with a brown wash. And then I'll come back over and hit it with a little, even smaller amount of silver. You can barely see the silver in that, right? But you can see it. And then I hit it again with brown wash a second time. And that's a really simple way to do convincing rust. It's not too overdone, and it's got the texture that you're looking for. So that is kind of scratching, chipping, and rust, like surface abrasions, if you will. The other thing I wanted to show you is if you screw up, because not everybody has the brush control that's the brush control or brush discipline that's needed for this kind of thing, is, and you can see it along this chip. I kind of already pre-did it, but let's say you come in and you do one of these, or you move or whatever. First of all, that's an opportunity to just create more chipping, right? Just come along and hit it with your stippling, and don't let it stay so clean, because that kind of splotch or mess up or whatever you want to call it is now just an opportunity for a more detailed weathering position. However, let's say you do something like this one, right? I've kind of overlapped that brown line with the highlight. So I can come in here and I can touch that up, right? But let's say I did something stupid and I was like really heavy-handed, right? Shit, what am I supposed to do there? Well, it's really simple actually. You just go back to your base layer, not super thinned because I'm working with yellow tones, but go back to your base layer and clean it up. It's really that simple. A lot of people are just like super afraid to keep their base tone on their palette and clean things up. Don't be. But I do stress that before you get into this, kind of get yourself disciplined on brush control, brush pressure, keeping things very light and uniform. You know, cleaning up these, if you can see my fingerprints here, cleaning up these is really simple. Just stipple along it as if it were chipped up. You are the dictation on how messed up this gets, you know. You can only control so much as far as, hey, I kind of like got fingers all over this thing, chip some paint off, wear some gloves. If you're not worried about it, you want to have a really battle damaged piece, don't worry about it. Just kind of do what you got to do. But you can see that that base tone is almost unrecognizable right here that I just painted as it dries out. This was all airbrushed on, but the brushing over to kind of tidy up disappears. So don't be scared. Kind of do your thing, clean it up, do what you got to do, and everything will turn out just fine, my friends. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, whatever, feel free to hit me up. The Discord is the best way to get a hold of me, but we're constantly talking in the Patreon Discord channel. But feel free to PM me too. And I hope you guys all have a great, great holiday recess, whatever you're doing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you. Take care of yourselves.